The cocktail party, Georgia, 16.5-point favorite against Florida. In this game, the cocktail party picking up and moving in the future from Jacksonville to Tampa and to Atlanta. Not a fan of this, Chris. I don't like it. Jacksonville seems just like iconic for this game. I don't even know if they make cocktails in Atlanta. I don't even know if it's a thing. But Chris,
so
how do you feel
to
about
be clear, that is 2026,
2026 and 2027.
Because Jacksonville Stadium is going to be under construction. So they have to move it. And basically it's going to be back in Jacksonville in 2020 and beyond. And basically they decided to do this instead of on campus because they're getting a lot more money to do it at two neutral sites, essentially.
Chris, is there any reason why schools would need a lot more money?
Because they're going to have to pay some of that to the players pretty soon. But I part of me also wonders if they played it on campus, if then the fans and the teams would be like, nah, we don't want to ever go back to neutral sites. You know, like if you play this game in Athens, in Gainesville, and the fans were always, we got a way better home schedule this year because we got that game at home. Like then maybe we don't want to do the Jacksonville game. So I think there might be part of this where it's like we got to keep it neutral site because we don't want to rip that open because then it's going to be harder to go. It's harder to go back to Jacksonville if you've been on campus than if you've been in Tampa and Atlanta.
My stance on neutral site games previously has always been, well, if we don't get the games at all, but we're gonna get them in front of neutral site, then give me the neutral site. Obviously, I want to play games on campus, but this is a game you're gonna get regardless. More games on more campuses in more opportunities. Overall, Damien, what do you see from Florida here? Are they gonna push Georgia and maybe? I think this will be a shock the world game, I guess, probably.
It's possible, right? Because, listen, we've been talking about Billy Napier being on the hot seat all year. And, yes, Florida, the beginning half of the season, we're like, okay, this is a complete failed season. Like, expectations, you're not making that. Bowl games, playoff, SEC, anything. You're not making any of that. But now we're sitting at the end of the season, and these Billy Napier coach teams are still showing up every single weekend. They're playing their tails off. It might not be great X's and O's, and they might not be winning these, but they're competitive in each and every game. And now all of a sudden, this talk about, it's not if but when, Billy Napier gets fired. It seems like that's quieted down a lot. Like, I haven't heard it as much. People aren't talking about it as much. And it's because his guys are still playing hard. DJ Lagway is the guy. They've accepted that. They've made their offense around him. Well, they're doing things better now. Like, defensively, they're playing better, and they're making every single game competitive. So, yes, this is absolutely potential for a shock the world, savior game for Billy Napier and his job. But I will say the one thing that's going to keep them from doing that is not going to be Carson Beck. It's going to be this dude, Trevor Etienne. Like, this dude is a host. This dude is a
Is it a revenge game for him? Or is it just like thanks for the paycheck, George?
Yeah, you caught exactly where I was going. This could be a revenge game for him. And something that's important to note, this dude has, I would say, about 80% of his rushing yards. I'll give you the exact number. He's got 422 rushing yards on the season, but 344 yards in SEC play. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns on the season. All 7 of those are against SEC opponents. So this is a guy, when Carson Beck is going to give you at least 1, 2, maybe 3 turnovers a game, this is a guy that's getting better throughout the course of the season. So as hopeful as Florida is, as their fans are, as Billy Napier is, that they can keep riding the momentum and keep making these games competitive and hopefully have something to look forward to next season. I think when you're facing a guy like Trevor Etienne, that just makes it hard. It makes it hard to stop this Georgia onslaught. So I like Georgia to cover.
I think you look at Florida, the totality of their season, they're kind of victimized by playing teams that didn't get a lot of preseason respect. Miami was barely in the top 20. They get smacked at home. Well, Miami, they're a national title contender, and we didn't necessarily know that at the time.
Well, I remember at the beginning of the season, like before the Miami-Florida game, we were kind of like looking at them on an even playing field. Like, whoever wins this game will know more about them than the loser. But like, these are two teams that are kind of neck and neck at the start of the season. But now it's like Miami could realistically win the national championship.
Then you look at Texas A&M; they lose that game by 13. They haven't done anything, but you look at them. There's not a really bad game on their roster or on their schedule. A&M's alone at the top of the SEC. Tennessee. They took care of business against UCF. They beat a pretty bad Mississippi State team. They pushed Tennessee, a game they should have had, and then they smacked Kentucky. I like Florida to cover this. I like Florida to push it. I think we're going to get to the fourth quarter, and Florida's got a chance to win this ball game. I don't think they get there. Yes, I don't think they get there, but I think Florida pushes Georgia big time here. Chris, what's your feel for this one?
So, like, this game under Billy Napier, it's not like this game has been really close like the Tennessee games are, where Florida's just somehow winning that game or taking it to overtime, and Florida's playing better than we've seen them before against Tennessee. They've lost this game 42-20, 43-20. I think it was a game 2 years ago with Anthony Richardson where things unraveled very quickly at one point. This game has not been that close. And DJ Lagway, like, outside of the Kentucky game, he's been, like, okay, but I don't think he's passed for 100 yards in a game, or otherwise, or at least he hadn't in his previous few games. So it's not like he's been lighting it up either, but at the same time, Georgia's not what it was. Like, those Georgia teams, Georgia's come into this game ranked number 1 3 straight times. They are not in this. I think they're number 2, but it doesn't feel like Georgia's on that machine level. Carson Beck was not great against Texas. Like, Georgia won that game the way it did because of Texas turnovers and where Georgia started some drives. Like, it's not like Georgia went into Texas and just demolished them. So I think it's possible Florida keeps this game competitive. I think they have a chance of covering, but I'm going with Georgia to win. I'm going with Georgia to cover the 16.5. I think Georgia just kind of gets right here, and Kirby Smart seems to do a pretty good job against Billy Napier.
Damien, who you like?
I like Georgia to cover.